Hey guys, good morning. The title of the video is going to be, what are the goals of Donald Trump's tariffs? Let's speculate. Let's speculate on what those goals are. There's a lot of talk out there on YouTube, social media, even legacy media, on what is going on with these tariffs and what are the real goals. And there's probably no right answer to any of the conversations that are going on out there, because we don't know what's in Donald Trump's head. We really don't. And, you know, the team that he has, you know, they probably don't say much out there. Now, there might be a few people who know and who are probably doing a little bit of insider trading, no doubt. They're probably buying the dip as we speak because they know the intention of these tariffs. All right, but let's look at the possible goals for these tariffs. Let's outline them, and then let's talk about them as far as, you know, what we think a successful outcome is with all these tariffs. Now, the first thing that we could assume that tariffs are really intended for is to maybe hurt China at the end of the day. That could be one of the goals, is to hurt their economy, which, to be honest, in turn is going to hurt our economy too. No doubt. I think that destroying one economy, the second largest economy, is probably not the brightest idea for our economy. So that could be one goal. The second goal could be tax revenue, okay? Tariffs are taxes against businesses and consumers, depending on how the business operates within that tariff. They could either pass that tariff on or they can absorb that tax, okay? So that's goal number 2, is to collect revenue for the government for continued spending, as we all know. So that's goal number 2. Goal number 3 could be, hey, we can sell into those markets if we can negotiate a better deal. Okay, goal number 3 would be that. Those markets in China and India, that could be where we want to sell our business. Okay. Now, and then goal number 4 is probably to bring jobs back to America. That would be goal number 4. So which is it? You know, we don't know which one it is. We don't know what Donald Trump's intentions are, but I have my assumptions. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. What are the true goals and what looks like success for America and these massive tariffs, right? We've got what is it, 250% tariffs on China? You know, that's pretty crazy. And we have the temporary pause on these other massive tariffs when it comes to, you know, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, the EU, the UK, Canada, Mexico, so on and so forth. Okay, we still have those tariffs on, but they're on pause. Okay, so what are the goals? I'm going to give you my take on what I think is going to happen when it comes to these tariffs. I think that the end goal is to sell into 2 markets, China and India. That is, I believe, what the goal is for Donald Trump. And why is that? Well, there's a big reason. It's called population, okay? It's called population because they have 1.2 billion, I think, in India. And then over in China, they have 1.1 billion. So what is that? 2.3 billion people that we have zero access to for the most part in China. I don't know really what the access is in India, but I think it's pretty limited. I mean, I think they've been very strict when it comes to selling into those markets. They've never played nice with us in those 2 markets. And that is what Donald Trump is attempting to do, to get us access into those markets in a fair way, meaning we don't get tariffed 50% in the China market or tariffed 100% in the India market. Okay? Why is it that those countries can tariff us and block us from selling into those markets, and then we let it all come in? We allow all the cheap goods from China and India to come into our country and pretty much just make everything cheap and devalued in our country. So that is, I think, what the number 1 reason is to why Donald Trump is so aggressive with these tariffs. We want a piece. We want a piece of the 2.3 billion people that are out there. Now, whether or not we can compete at a fair level, that's debatable. You know, they have cheap labor over there. How could we compete in those markets? It's hard to say, you know, but I think with certain products, we could very well compete. It just depends on the product. There are these countries, China and India, are building a middle class foundation right now. They're building middle class people. People are moving up the ranks. They're spending more money. They're becoming consumers, just like the people of the United States did over the last 50 years. And we want a piece. We can sell goods and services to people in the middle class over there, no doubt. And so will they. You know, they're going to compete as well. That is what I think is happening with these tariffs. That's the number one reason. Now, I'm going to try to debunk another reason, which is to bring back jobs in America. Now, I've talked on the channel from time to time on the hopes of bringing jobs back, but I'm going to tell you why I do not believe that is the case, and it's just not going to happen. Here's why. Because tariffs are not permanent. Tariffs are not permanent, and that is why we will never bring jobs back to America. Why is that? Because businesses need certainty. They need certainty to be able to get a loan to build a plant for millions of dollars or billions of dollars, okay? No one's gonna build a plant, a manufacturing plant, to build baseballs. I did a video on this 2 days ago or whatever, to manufacture baseballs if the tariffs are not permanent, okay? Because let's say Donald Trump jacks the tariffs up to 400% on China and keeps them there, they're only there for 4 years, okay? If companies don't have a guarantee that that 400% tariff is gonna be in place, they cannot build a plant. Because the minute somebody gets elected, you know, whether it's Kamala Harris or whoever, okay, the minute the other side gets elected and they take tariffs down to 0%, like they are before Donald Trump, guess what? Now that business just built a manufacturing plant here and they can't compete. Now they go bankrupt. You guys get it? That is why the tariffs are pointless to bring back manufacturing jobs to America, because they're not permanent. If we had a law that Congress passed where the tariffs were permanent, then maybe, yes, we could get companies to finally invest in the United States. Investments take time. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys on the channel, left and right. Everything in business takes time. It is not quick. Nothing is overnight. The same thing with your investments. There's a reason why investments take time. And if you don't have a permanent system where we have stability and clarity, it's a mess. And that's what's happening with the stock market right now. It's a mess. It's a lot of speculation on what Donald Trump's goals are. You know, Wall Street is trying to answer this same question I'm doing on this video. They really are. Now, the markets, in my opinion, still, they're in basically a minor correction, in my opinion. I'm digressing here a little bit because it is still important to talk about the markets with respect to the tariffs. Now, the SPY has gone up 20% over the last 2 years, year over year. So that's like almost 40%. So we're still at all-time highs. This is just a minor correction and speculation as to what the real intentions are. In my opinion, I think that what's going to happen is no one wants to lose their economy. China doesn't want to get destroyed, okay? And so I think what's going to happen, they're going to come to the drawing board and they're going to say, hey, all right, Donald Trump, you're going to get your way. We're going to let you sell into China for 4 years, right? Because guess what? You've only got 4 years until the next election, okay? That next election, that's why elections are important, right? And, you know, if we get free trade with China to where we can finally sell into that market, hey, you know, maybe we'll want to keep that going after that. Who knows? I'm not promoting the next election. I'm just saying that, you know, if we can get a better deal, there's something to be said about that. And we may want to keep that going, okay? I think that the last 40 years, most of our politicians have sold us out. I completely agree with how Donald Trump talks about that, and I think he's right. You know, NAFTA, we totally got sold out. All of our jobs went over to Mexico and Canada. And they were trying to get that, what was it called? The Asia Pacific deal, trade deal, or whatever it was. And I think Donald Trump kind of canceled it when he got elected in 2016. I forget what the trade deal was called with that. But that's the thing, right? You know, these trade deals are extremely important. And so I think that's what it's all about, is getting into their markets. Now, as far as tax revenue, you know, most of the time Republicans hate more taxes. They really do. They hate taxing companies, whether it's through corporate income tax or whether it's through tariffs. They don't like it, to be honest. I don't think that's the case. Now, if the tariffs stay in place and we get a 250% tariff on China, I still think that they're going to import, you know, tons of goods from China. And yeah, the government, I guess, you could call it a success if they collect, I don't know, 300 more billion a year in tax revenue. I don't know what the numbers are. Excuse me. It's probably somewhere between like 200 and 500 billion, something around there. Now, will that help out the fiscal problems we have in the government? Maybe a little bit. You know, I would not consider that a success if that is the goal, is to collect more tax revenue. I think that's a silly argument to make as far as the reasons to do these massive tariffs. And I don't think that we're trying to destroy China, because we're going to destroy ourselves in the process if we keep this up. We have a big portion of our economy is based on Chinese goods. My company alone, I know that I've been in these meetings where they're talking about these tariffs, and it's going to destroy my company, and it's going to destroy my entire industry. Almost every company in the AV space does imports from China, Taiwan, and all these places in Southeast Asia. It will hurt us tremendously. So be careful talking about tariffs and promoting them that much, because you guys, I can't tell you how many jobs are involved in this. Think about it. My entire industry, this AV space, is all based on imports. All of it. None of it we make here. Barely any of it. Maybe a little bit. They do trade shows. All these companies, they do trade shows in Las Vegas and Orlando and all throughout the country. And what do you think is going to happen when these businesses get just destroyed on tariffs? All these trade shows, no one's going to do them anymore. And what is that going to hit? That's going to hit a bunch of union jobs and a bunch of manual labor jobs at all these trade shows and all these venues. They're going to have no money coming in. The Las Vegas Convention Center, I wonder how big CES will be, or how big Infocom will be. All these shows will be just destroyed because no one's going to buy booths. You get the point? It's a cascading problem if we leave these tariffs going on forever. So, you know, I'm pro manufacturing coming back to the United States, but I'm not pro with it if it's not going to be done right, okay? These tariffs have to be permanent for businesses to invest. If they were permanent, like I said, you could actually position yourself and build manufacturing here. No doubt, I think companies could do that. So that's my take on tariffs. I know I'm rambling a little bit when it comes to these 4 reasons for doing tariffs, but it is what it is. So you guys let me know in the comments below what you think. You think tariffs are a good thing or a bad thing or something in the middle. So anyways, you guys have a great day, and thanks for coming, guys. Take a look at my previous video if you could. Thanks, guys.